one of my things I had to do was literally go out with another agent and hand a widow a check because, of course, her husband had just passed away. And that really hit me really hard at that point. And that was just, it was a huge impact for me.
Welcome to Small Strides, Big Business, the podcast for insurance agents who want to grow their business in a way that feels smart, sustainable, and authentic. On this podcast, we have honest conversations about better sales interactions, client service, automation, mindset, marketing, referrals, practical things that move your business forward in real life. Whether you're brand new or years into the game, so grab a notebook and let's dive into today's conversation. Hey everyone, I have Mark Zimmerman here today. I'm so excited to have you. Mark is the founder of Aurifex Financial.
There you
It's
go.
a full service insurance industry in Washington. And I know that when we first talked, you were talking about a pivotal moment handling an insurance check to a widow. It touches my heart, but it reminds me of the fact that we're here for a bigger reason. You also mentioned that your core concept is helping people transition from living paycheck to financial stability. Just tell us a little bit about you. Tell us how you got into insurance and what brought you up to where you are today.
Well, first, thanks you, Crystal, for having me.
Yeah.
Really honored to be able to chance to chat with you today. My insurance career goes back to the actually late 80s or mid to late 80s. I was still in the Marine Corps at the time, and I was living actually in Hawaii, and I got my life insurance license there. I was working, trying to earn some extra income while I was there, and just trying to like think about what I was going to do after I was going to leave the Marine Corps, and insurance was kind of a nice passion for me. It was, like avenue, I thought. And during my training, as you mentioned, one of my things I had to do was literally go out with another agent and hand a widow a check because, of course, her husband had just passed away. And that really hit me really hard at that point, just by the fact of, wow, this is real. This is, now we're really protecting people in the aspect of here's a check and, helping them to like get over that moment of losing that loved one. And that was just, it was a huge impact for me. I did leave the Marine Corps later on. And unfortunately, because insurance was, commission based, and I had 3 kids in tow, I had to go find a real paying job. And so then I worked for the Boeing company for about 23 years as a manufacturing engineer planner, and which was a very, very successful career. I actually rejoined the service in the National Guard and Reserves later on, right after 9/11. And of course, then I got deployed multiple times, etc. But the point is, I can see where insurance was very, very important, not just, life insurance, but also protecting one's wealth.
Mhm.
And when I left the service, when I finally retired all the reserves in 2016, just felt, even though I moaned and groaned about having to go do drill weekends and spend 2 weeks or 3 weeks every year uh, doing my active duty service, and I felt like I was doing something higher, bigger than myself. And I kind of lost that. And so I'm like, what do I do? How can I do that? And that's when I kind of reached back and I thought about that moment when we handed this check to this poor widow. And I'm like, there you go. This is what I can do. And I have another story that was, right at 9/11 that kind of financially, like I was pretty devastated. And so I combine the two and say, wow, I can really help people by actually being an honest individual and an advisor, someone who can coach and teach people how to literally help protect themselves pertaining to the insurance side. And I felt this really high like level of wow, because I see I've seen how it can affect people. And that's kind of how I ended up starting our Aurifex Financial back in 2018.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service. I truly appreciate everything that you do. I have a few family members that are in the armed services, and my dad was actually part of the National Guard for a long, long time. It brings me to I know that a lot of people get into insurance potentially because they think it's fast cash, or they think that they can make a lot of money, or they can climb. But truly, I love the idea in any field that you're in of doing what you're doing because you love it and because it helps people. So, I really would love to talk to you a little bit more about the products that you offer, but just the whole idea of serving others through education, through protection. Let's dive into that a little bit. And how do you educate your clients? Because I know that's important to you.
Well, we're a full menu insurance agency, all the way from property and casualty, life, business. We do health, right?
Mhm.
I was just getting done with AEP for Medicare this last several months. Perfect example of a lot happens during AEP is going back over individuals' policies and reviewing their policies and telling them what their coverage is, how what other possible needs are for this next, coming year, and does that match up with their current, they feel that it's current match. Perfect example. I have a client, beautiful woman. She's in the mid 70s. She had about actually sold her policy last year, and the particular policy I got her was because she needed a high dental coverage. And she never acted on that until literally this last month. And she has unfortunately, only like 8 teeth left in her mouth. And she needs to get those out and put dentures in. And so we went through a lot of just going through and finding the right policy that's going to cover her for her dentures and her procedures and all of that stuff. And that's a really good example of, I try to go the extra mile and really make sure that they're being taken care of and find that I may not make a commission offer or whatever the case,
Mm.
but it's the goodwill that I'm trying to develop with those clients to say, let's really dig into it. And that's a good example of that right
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely. All that's going on in the economy and inflation and material costs and all the things. How often, do you recommend that your clients review their policies, maybe their home and auto? How often are you recommending that people basically kind of touch in with you and see where they're at and if things should change?
Well, most of the time, most clients don't check in with me. I'm always checking in with them,
It's
and
true.
it does two things. They they're alive. They're trying to just live their life. The last
Yeah.
thing they're going to think about is, oh, hey, honey, is our insurance policy going to be renewing this month?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right. It's
not the
not a
discussion
priority.
on the table, right? So, what I tend to do is, of course, I see their renewals coming up, and so I try to reach out to them. Hey, Crystal, what's new and exciting? Tell me, has there been any huge life changes for you in the last 6 months? Or do you see things that are changing? And when it comes to property casualty, that's unfortunately, and I won't go down that deep hole, but because it's now considered a commodity, well, hey, well, my policy just went up $3. Or in this case, it's, especially the last couple of years, that was really everybody's policies, increases. And so I really had to get in front of that to make sure that they're not going to be reshopping somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing.
That's a big thing.
Yeah,
Well, client retention is huge.
it is. Right. And
Absolutely.
that's
We'll
where
touch on that a little more. Yeah.
yeah, that's the big you may break even in the beginning, but it's the matter of retention. That's what keeps them sticking around. And of course, so that's what I tend to do a lot of is trying to maintain that outreach and keeping myself in their minds.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what could happen in just a matter of 6 months since the last time you speak to them, or just the fact of reaching out and just double checking. So, well, a lot of life events happen.
I want to ask you a little bit about building your own agency, but since we're already on this topic, what is your client success and your customer service? Was it one touch a year, two touches a year? Have you perfected anything that you feel like you're really doing well, or is this something you want to improve on? From a small business owner, how are you mastering those client relationships and keeping those clients on?
I try to be first off, it's a continuous balancing act. How am I going to be? I need to be on the phone creating new leads, basically, or start running more quotes and getting that involved. But at the same time, you got to spend time to follow up with the current book of business that you have and just continue to try and nurture that relationship. I had a company that was doing a wonderful job like they do. I get a magazine that gets sent out to them it's an email sent out,
Yep.
but still it's I still reach out and still try and keep that nurturing that relationship and just be involved and just say, hey, tell me what's new and exciting with you, and just ask about them, because unfortunately most people that doesn't happen. A lot of people just don't call and just say, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do. I literally just try and be a friend and just say, "Hey, hi, how are you?" And not sell them. I just try to be involved and just say, "What's going on with your life?"
So you're
And
there when they need you and they think of you.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so, and of course, the idea is that when insurance comes up or these like financial questions, they're going to say, "Oh, Crystal, I know who you need to call. You need to call my buddy Mark. He's great. You need to talk to him." Right. And that's it. That's the whole game right there. And unfortunately, it just takes a while to build that and
Absolutely.
get that going.
Yeah, referrals are key. All right, so you're the janitor, you're the CEO, you're everything in between. What have you noticed as you've grown? If you can help, if we're speaking to somebody who was you 20 years ago, what would you recommend to them as they're starting to build a book of business, starting to work on referrals or other leads? What have you kind of figured out along the way as your business has been growing? Everything from how you found your clients to maybe what you've implemented for systems. Is there anything that, you can kind of share with us that you've either had struggles with or you feel like you've done really well with over the last couple decades?
Uh, If I had a chance to do it all over again, I wouldn't have just jumped right into starting my own scratch agency. I would have probably, I know I would have spent the first a year, maybe 2 years working for somebody else at the beginning,
Mhm.
to because the industry had changed since the 1980s dramatically. And even from 2018, since I started, it's changed dramatically already. The tools that's available now is absolutely ridiculous, which
Mhm.
has been great, as especially an individual scratch agency like myself. So I use a platform very a lot of people use is Go High Level. It's a version of Go High Level, which I can email. I can, of course, send out a text message. It does the whole bit. I mean, it's a great contact manager, and but yet it has all these nice additions to it. And a lot of people use the Agent Zoom, or I think I know what it is.
Yep.
But it's just a matter of what I would have probably done first is, and that because I've been out of the industry for a while. That's where I should have should have started there. I would have copied a lot more. I should have done a lot more research beforehand too, to see what a successful agency looks like.
Mm.
And that would have been
Mentoring.
my other, yeah. Yeah, I didn't do enough research prior to.
Okay, that's great advice. I know that the idea of or recommendation to have a mentor is a pretty common theme. So I think that that's probably the route that you're going as well, not just to teach you
Yes.
the insurance role, but also to teach you how to build a business.
Well, and that's the other thing. Yes, you could be an absolute mind whiz when it pertaining to insurance and the different parts of insurance, right? Because that right there alone, you need almost a Harvard degree just to understand sometimes how this all works, insurance works.
Yeah.
And however, now you have the other side of that, which is a business. right? Well, what about your business credit? What about my business credit? Oh, well, do you have a Dun Bradstreet number? Do you have your code when it comes to your business? Is that
Yeah.
properly done? Are you filing your state filings on a regular basis on it?
Yeah.
Are you, if you're an LLC, are you maintaining a book within you got to make sure you do membership, like some LLC. So a members meetings.
Mhm.
I mean, because then if you get sued, if you don't properly do that, that could pierce your agency, and now they can come after you personally. So, which then, if you don't maintain your corporate book, so it's those little things like what? Do I have to do what? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right.
Surrounding yourself with people who know more than you do. Even if you're an individual, having a team of people around you, whether it's a CPA or an accountant or a mentor or, you know,
Oh,
another thing you mentioned when we first started talking is podcasts that you like to listen to podcasts and learn a little bit about the space.
yes. Yeah, I do. I every time well, especially now I'm going, during AEP, when I'm in the car, I try and put on a podcast, and I have several that I listen to, and that's been very, very helpful when it comes to just, for me, it's been like, that's a great point. What is this new lead, what did I was listening to? It was a company called Smart Finance. And I'm like, oh, never heard of them before, And so I got that off of a podcast and immediately went home, looked them up. So it's that kind of little stuff that's like, oh, wow, that's cool. So those little tidbits definitely help.
Awesome. There are so many tips and tricks. And I think with people adding content on social media, whether it's a podcast or a TikTok or a reel or whatnot, really can learn a lot from other people's experiences and what they're willing to share. And I think that is bonus to this era that we're in.
Yeah, and it's interesting that and it's pretty really cool is that this industry, everybody's more than willing to share both their horror stories and their successes. And that's the cool part is that, everybody is like, "Oh yeah, buddy, we've done that." And oh, let me tell you this. Yeah, let me tell you this story. Oh my gosh, and this is what happened. Yeah. So
It's nice to it makes you feel like you're not alone.
well, right. It's like exactly, especially as a individual scratch agency, or it's like, why the heck did I do that for? And it's like, well, that marketing plan didn't work at all. And then like, oh yeah, then you get on one of the podcasts and they say like, yeah, and then we did this, and oh yeah, that was a big failure. And I'm like, oh, good. It wasn't just me that
Phew, good to know. Yeah.
now, I wish I heard that podcast or I had talked to you before this, but I would have saved me some few thousands of bucks on marketing.
Right.
But
Yeah, I think today's age, I think people are more apt to kind of jump in and build something or start something on their own. I don't know. I feel like the entrepreneur world is a little bit bigger than it was a couple decades ago, right? But in the same token, people may feel more confident to do that because everybody does share their story. So,
right.
before social media, we never knew what everybody else was doing behind the closed door.
All
So,
right, right. All you have to do now is go on to Facebook. You know exactly what
yeah,
everybody's up to and
right.
and what have you. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it's very true. It seems like it's probably more I think we see it more now because of social media. And of course, we're looking for that material, that content, right?
Mhm.
So now it's like I'm looking at that red uh, Mazda or whatever, or that so now you see nothing but red
Yeah,
Mazda.
right, right. Absolutely. Well, and Facebook has a way of showing you the red Mazda.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mark, this has been really fun. I would love to just ask one last question for the new person. Because I'm fairly new, I'm always talking to the newer people out there. But knowing what you know, you already gave us some good tidbits as far as, doing your research and having a mentor and surrounding yourself with people who know more than you do in the areas of business. But if somebody was considering getting into the insurance world, what would be your best advice to them?
Ooh, my best advice is you're not going to make a lot of money in the beginning. That's for number one. And so don't come in here thinking you're going to be killing it right from the get go. It's not all about automation. But yes, you can automate a lot of things these days, emails, text messages, etc. But you still need to get on the phone. And still you need to call 100 people every day
Mm.
because that's just That's the only way to start generating leads. And some of the old school stuff, such as cold calling, I know it's like, oh, yeah, get over your fears. Even myself, I had to get over a lot of my fears. And so that was another thing. Provide value that is the key these days. Trust is at the most lowest level. Nobody trusts anybody these days because, we can go into YouTube and we can get YouTube hacks and what have you, but you got to figure out how to develop trust. And the only way you can develop trust is to go out and provide value to individuals. I just started my own school community. If you're familiar with school, it's
Yeah.
SK, and I have the Aurifex Wealth Blueprint, and it's a free community. And I go on there like right now, it's once a week or every other week. I'm providing like content on there. And it's a way to invite individuals well, I do financial planning. I'm
Mhm.
a member of the Accredited Financial Counselors and Professional Educators, AFPCE. And so that is one of my other whole content was idea is to provide this to other individuals. And so that is my way of not just like on my YouTube. I provide videos on there for insurance, but also I provide information in there about financial education and financial management.
Awesome.
And so that is my way. I'm trying to provide good content to individuals to say, uh, to reach out. And I provide a lot of good stuff is out of the big beautiful bill right now,
Mhm.
and so I've created a PDF and I've been emailing that out to a few of my business owners of how they could possibly provide or basically get additional, 100% write-offs on equipment and et cetera, right now. So that's another kind of like thing I've been doing. And it's only because I'm trying to provide, hey, that neat little deli up in Ballard, they may need something that they need to replace equipment wise. And then this could be we could use the BBB for tax deductions.
Tips and
Right.
tricks.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of you gotta keep educated. You need to stay educated because insurance, as we all know, it helps protect one's wealth. That is the wealth protection, is what I call it, right? And we take that liability from our shoulders and we hand that over to the insurance companies. We do that because with a premium payment, right? It's paramount to protect because, as we all understand what a umbrella policy can do, for an individual, that's what we need to be looking at. How can we protect that individual, that client with the right amount of insurance? On the state of Washington, minimum is like 50, 25, excuse me, yeah, 25 to 50 for like auto insurance. That can't even come close to covering what could possibly happen in case of a major accident and somebody ends up in a hospital.
Right.
And of course, there's only a few things that people can you can't write off at a bankruptcy, and that's a liability suit and taxes. So you're going to end up paying for because you end up paying for that liability suit and having to work a second job just to pay off that liability suit. And that could have been totally prevented if we as agents, as agencies, as insurance professionals provided the correct amount of insurance to those clients. We need to educate them to say why this is important
I
now.
think no matter where you are in your career, whether you're first starting or you're 50 years in, education is important. Education is key. That's just do it anyway. Do it scared. Just do it. Just move forward and do it. So I love that.
and
Awesome.
and change the mindset. It's not about trying to sell people. It's literally being able to say, "Hey, I'm here to help you."
Yeah.
Right? And if you're able to maybe make that switch in your mind, right? And get a little bit of thick skin because you get a lot of no's, right?
Yeah.
And no thank yous. And that's the whole purpose, right? We're trying to help people. And you got to really be you have a servant heart when it comes to this because some people are willing to take your advice and help and others just don't want it. And majority of the time it's because they don't trust you.
Mm.
And so it's nothing personal. It's just they don't trust you yet.
Awesome. Well, Mark, this has been really fun. We got a lot of tidbits, I think, from you. Where can people find you? And is your school open to anybody?
Yes, absolutely. You can just school, it's an app, you can look, you can just go onto aurifexfinancial.com. That's my major webpage. And in this, it's the Aurifex, Aurifex Wealth Blueprint. And yes, it's a free community. More than glad to, anybody who wants to join is free to join. And from there, I provide financial planning and education through there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we'll make sure to put that in the podcast notes as well so people can find that if they're driving in their car. Please don't be writing while you're driving,
Trying
texting
to write on
drivers.
their yeah, on the
Yeah,
corner arm
right.
while doing this. Yeah, that would be bad. So,
Oh, well, thank you, Mark. It's been a
no,
pleasure,
thank you.
and I really
Yeah,
appreciate your time.
no, thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for spending time with me today on Small Strides, Big Business. I hope this conversation gave you some clarity, confidence, or one new idea to move your agency forward. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow or subscribe and share it with another agent who could benefit. I'm Crystal Small, and remember, every small stride you take today builds the foundation for long-term confidence, stability, and growth in your business.